Hello and welcome to season 2 of the YouTube Success Podcast. Did you know that we were even ending season 1? I don't know. We never really announced it. I did the interview with Louise and we were like, okay, we're going to have a break now for the conference. I'm sure I probably mentioned it in that video. But we're now at season 2. We're in July of 2024. This makes this video not evergreen, but I want to give you some context as to where you are if you're listening on the podcast. I think they're dated actually. This episode is all about updates. I wanted to start season 2 with giving you some updates and also just kind of summarise what happened with TubeFest. So we're going to start there. I'm going to talk about TubeFest, YouTube for Business and YouTube Accelerator. And this episode should only be like 5 to 10 minutes long, just for context. So firstly, TubeFest. Oh my God, TubeFest. I was so nervous about TubeFest. I was kind of keeping it under my hats a little bit because I was telling everyone it was okay, everything was fine. But in my mind, I was like, what if no one shows up? Like always that exists in your brain. What if no one shows up? What if people don't buy tickets? All that kind of stuff. And when you organise something so big, you have to say sort of laser focus with, actually, no, that can't be true, Matt. You've been to events, you've been to in the US, you go to events in the UK all the time, and there is no video marketing event like TubeFest. So when we got there on the day and people started to show up, it was a really exciting part of our life. I think I could call it a career-defining moment. I was there with my wife, with my girls, Amy, Poppy and Willow. Amy's my wife, Poppy and Willow are my daughters, in case you don't know. And so it was a real family affair. The girls looked after the desk when people came in and welcomed people. And I think what happened is it became a really good understanding for everybody in my personal life to understand the kind of thing we're trying to achieve with TubeFest. I would say the keynote that I did was very emotional. I came off stage, the girls were crying, because I think in that moment we could understand all the effort and hard work that we do. And the thing is, we work at home, right? So we sit in the living room of our house, as I am today. Office is too hot, it's in July. Little bit of hot weather for July. That's all we're getting, and it means I can't sit in my office because it's too hot. But we work at home all the time, so often the girls will see us doing work, but they don't really know what the outcome is, what it means. And so when we went to TubeFest, all of a sudden that became obvious. The event itself had 14 speakers. We had a late dropout of one of the speakers. They couldn't make it, unfortunately, so we managed to find a cover in Jason Greystone. Thank you so much for Jason for doing that. We had, of course, Nick come all the way from Thailand. We had Desiree from the US. A whole bunch of speakers. The speakers did a fantastic job, really inspiring the people in the room. We had 150 attendees. The attendees were from USA, Switzerland, Thailand, Ireland, France, Germany, pretty much all over the place. And I still think that blows my mind that people will take the time to come to these events. I travel all the time. I love traveling. So going to events and traveling to those events is probably one of my favorite things. But I still think, I saw a post on Facebook not too long ago and they were like, oh my God, I can't go more than half an hour to an event. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it takes me half an hour to get to the train station, let alone going 8 hours to Dallas or something like that for an event. So I am glad that people will take the time and come to these events with the investment that it takes to do that as well. Never forget that. Our next event is in April 25th. We were scheduled to have an event in October. Unfortunately, we've had to move that to April, but we are staying super positive about that move. It's April 25th in Dublin. We are sticking with Dublin. It means we get to have a nice spring holiday in Dublin, enjoy, get inspired, enjoy the conference, and then we're doing it on a Friday so you can spend a bit more time in Dublin if you want to make that a long weekend. And I think you should, because Dublin's an amazing place. If you've never been there before, take the time to do that. And the reason why we chose Dublin, one of the reasons why we chose it is because it's £40 for a flight to Dublin from East Midlands, where I am. I think it's the same in London, in Manchester, the other flights are around the UK. It's actually cheaper to fly to Dublin than it is to get a train to most of the events that I go to in London, Newcastle, Manchester, that kind of thing. So we hope that even though you have to get on a plane or a ferry or something like that to get there, we hope that it makes it a nice and easy trip for you to have. And you can get tickets now. Tickets are on sale, tubefest.co.uk. And we will announce the speakers towards the end of this year. We'll do a big launch then, but you can get early bird tickets over at tubefest.co.uk. anyone that's been following this podcast for a while, we changed the domain name from twofest.live to twofest.co.uk quite recently. Just a subtle change, but twofest.live will still work as well. Then there's two other things that have happened. When I got to the event on May the 23rd, one of the attendees said to me, Matt, what are you selling at this event? And I said, do you know what? I haven't got anything else to sell. This is not what this event is about. This is our launch event. I want it to be purely value driven. And she was like, oh, well, I'm disappointed then, because I told my team I was ready to buy whatever it was that Matt had to sell at that event. And it's not that we didn't have things to sell. I think we just didn't want the event to feel like a sales-based, we call it a no-pitch event, so we didn't want it to feel like a sales-based event. And we've launched two things since that event. We've launched the YouTube for Business membership and the YouTube Accelerator membership. Now, they're both part of the same platform. We have King of Video Academy, which is where they live, and they are both memberships. The only difference between the two things is YouTube for Business includes courses. It's a very sort of do-it-yourself kind of membership in that you get access to things like content repurposing school, getting started on YouTube, video editing school, and then there's a monthly Q&A that comes along where I come along to the Q&A and I answer any questions that you have. The difference with the Accelerator is we have weekly accountability calls. So there's two different products, YouTube for Business, YouTube Accelerator. The Accelerator, we have weekly calls. At the moment, they're scheduled on Friday, 12 till 1. So you can attend those and bring all your questions and hold yourself accountable. I just did this yesterday and I had a couple of people on there. One person joined after the planning workshop that we do. And she immediately said, look, Matt, I need you to keep track of what I'm doing. I know that I'm going to fall off the wagon here and there. And so part of the Accelerator is giving you a strategy to be able to create your content in a way that means that if life gets in the way, you're still going to be publishing content, that kind of thing. So they're the two memberships, YouTube for Business, YouTube Accelerator. YouTube for Business opens once a month. So at the end of the month, end of July, end of August, it will open for a couple of days. 48 hours is what we're saying. And then the YouTube Accelerator opens after each workshop that we do. And I'll talk about the workshops in a second. So I hope that makes sense to you. These are the things that we're offering. We will offer the YouTube Accelerator at the next TubeFest. So that we don't have that conversation again and people have got something to buy. I mean, it will still be a no-pitch event, but we will sponsor our own event and have a stand there with the YouTube Accelerator stuff in there. So the YouTube workshop, the last thing to tell you about on this podcast episode is the YouTube workshop. The YouTube planning workshop happens every 2 weeks. You can register for this. The link will be in the show notes. So you can go to kingofvideo.co.uk and you'll see a pop-up which will invite you to take our scorecard. At the end of the scorecard, you'll get invited to the workshop. The workshop is a planning workshop. This is a value-led free workshop where you can come along there and plan the next 3 to 12 months of YouTube content for your YouTube channel. Whether you've got started, whether you're thinking about getting started, all of that stuff, we help you structure all of your planning for that. You're welcome to come along. The thing is, the podcast listeners, I don't know who you are. I don't know who's listening. We've had 6,500 people download our podcast now since we started, and we're on episode 26. So we'd love for you to engage with us in some way, and that maybe taking the scorecard that we've got, or coming along to the workshop, or joining the membership, whichever one of those it is, we'd love to see you there. All right, that's it for this episode. Welcome to season 2. I'm super excited for this. The next episode is all about the expert's curse, and we're going to have some interviews coming along between now and the end of the year. Thanks so much. My name is Matthew Hughes, King of Video. See you next time.